Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to use graspable math to answer the question that you see on your screen. Right, so the question says, Antonio loves to go to the movies. He goes both at night and during the day. So the cost of a matinee, which is a movie during the day, is $6, and the cost of an evening show is $8. Antonio went to go see a total of 12 movies and spent $86 in all. How many night movies did he attend? All right, so to help us answer this question, we're going to move through the 3 steps that you see on your screen, and then eventually we're going to figure out how many night movies Antonio attended based on the information that they gave me. So step 1, this is the first thing that we have to do is identify what 2 pieces of information we're missing, right? So we're solving systems. All the systems that we've done so far have always had an X and a Y in them. So we're going to kind of go back and read through this and figure out what about this scenario do we not know. All right, so the question's asking me how many night movies he attended. So that's one of the things that I don't know. And I also don't know how many movies he went to during the day, right? So they're different prices. I know how much he spent in all. I know how many total movies he went to. I don't know how many evening versus how many daytime movies he saw. So that is the 2 things that that I have identified. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jot that down. And all you have to do on your screen is this is actually a text box that you can type right in. So I'm just going to write down the 2 things that I've identified that we don't know, right? So I don't know how many daytime movies Antonio attended. I'm actually going to write the number of daytime movies that Antonio attended, and then the other thing that I don't know is the number of nighttime movies that he attended. So again, you could just kind of type that in there. Right, so that's going to be what my X represents versus what my Y represents. And we're going to use those variables kind of moving forward in here to step 2. So the next thing we need to do in step 2 is to use the information from the problem to write 2 different equations that use the variables X and Y. So we know how to solve systems of equations in graspable math, but I haven't shown you how to input your own equations, and that's what we're going to need to do here. So if you go to Insert in the top left-hand corner of your screen, and then math expression, right? What we should be able to do is to type our own equations and then just have them show up so then you can manipulate them and solve for X and Y. So just kind of break this down. The first thing that I notice is that there is a total of 12 movies. So that is information that we can turn into an equation, because I know if you saw 12 movies, some of them are in the day, some of them are in the night. I don't know how many of each, but I do know that they have to add up to 12. So our first equation can just say x plus y equals 12. And then you should have an equation that kind of pops up over here, right? And that's going to be our first equation that we're going to use to solve. Now, I can't solve this totally by itself because there's a lot of different ways that you can get numbers that add up to 12, right? So maybe he saw 10 daytime movies and 2 nighttime movies. Maybe it was 6 and 6. Maybe it was 7 and 5. We're not sure just with this information. So we're going to need to come up with a second equation that involves like how much money he spent. All right, so for that one, just going to again click Insert, Math Expression. And now let's look at the other numbers in the problem. So I know a matinee, which is a daytime movie, was X. And that movie cost $6. So I'm going to write 6x because however many movies he saw, he spent $6 on each one of the daytime movies. So you would multiply that by 6. All right, some of the movies he saw were at night and they cost $8. So nighttime movies was Y. That's going to get multiplied by 8. So again, if he saw 2 nighttime movies, that would be 2 times 8 or $16. Right, again, I just don't know what that is, but that's why there's a variable there. But I know that if you take however much money he spent on nighttime movies and however much money he spent on daytime movies and add them together, should equal $86. Like that's the total amount of money that he spent on nighttime movies and daytime movies combined. All right, so again, if you click Done, it should pop up on your screen, and then we're going to be able to like move this around and solve it, just like we've been solving systems for the past couple classes using graspable math. So the first thing that we're going to need to do, since I don't have anything that I can substitute because none of my variables are all by themselves, is I'm going to need to solve for a variable. I think the easiest way to do that is if you just click this plus y and drag it over here. So this becomes 12 minus y is equal to x. And now I have something that I can substitute, right? So if I take this x, I can substitute it right here. because x equals 12 minus y, so it's just going to replace the x with 12 minus y. And I would just start clicking through the problem. So I would double click on the parentheses, combine my like terms. I'm going to slide the 72 over here. Then I just need to divide both sides by 2, and then I get that y is equal to 7. And if I plug this back into the other equation, 12 minus 7 should be 5. So the last thing that we need to do is step 3. And for step 3, it says type your final answer here. Right? So once you have your equations, we're going to solve for x and y, which I already did, and then I'm going to put my final answer right there. If you look at what the problem asked, it said how many nighttime movies did he attend? That was one of the reasons why I had you write this in step 1, because now we just look at which variable that is. So that would be y is the number of nighttime movies, and that looks like it's 7, right? So this looks like you saw 7 nighttime movies and 5 matinees, which are the daytime movies. So your final answer, again, this is a text box you can just type right into. And then just answer the question. So Antonio saw 7 nighttime movies.